Okay, the Sonata, as you know, competes against the Fusion, the Camry, the Accord, cars that are household names. And that category, by the way, has turned out to be kind of a bellwether, a major battleground, if not the biggest, as the automotive industry recovers coming out of the recession. This is a very serious car to consider. GPS navigation system, nothing new here. We've seen this 100 times. It's good, it's workable. In fact, check some of our other recent Hyundai and Kia navigation videos to see what this is all about. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. One thing I do want to point out, while you do have voice command on this system, you don't have the UVO system.
Command, please.
Find address.
Find address. The city, please.
San Francisco.
Please select the respective line or start spelling.
1. And there's that same Hyundai madness where I say the line number and it doesn't get it. They don't have this well honed. The UVO system is much more intelligent, more sophisticated. This is kind of old school voice command, but as you can see, it works fine. Let's talk about our media choices now. This system has the Dimension audio system, so whatever you're listening to, this is the top system Hyundai offers. It's 400 watts, it's got an external sub with its own amplifier and multiple channels of amplification to the main speakers around the cabin. You've also got a bunch of DSP settings, as you can see right there, designed by Ken Pullman, whoever he is. I'm sure I'll get email from you, he's some legendary audio engineer, but I've never heard of him. Your sources, AM, FM, and HD ability on this system. You've got satellite radio, and notice you've got a good but imperfect text display here. They seem to have enough real estate to call out more of each text tag, but instead they flip and rotate them. I hate that. And that's distracting, too. I want to see the name of the song. It's too long to fit in one line. I got to wait until it refreshes. And of course, you got the Hyundai Kia system of doing iPod or USB. This Siamese cable you've got to use down here, which gets you into the aux and USB together to go to the iPod, or just ram an aux in there by itself, or a USB drive in there by itself. And as of today's taping, with the iPhone 5 still a few days away, it remains to be seen how that device will or won't work with these cars. Notice one thing I like about this entire system, though, whether you're in nav or media or what have you, really great touchscreen response. These guys still rule the world in terms of screen response and the processor following what you've asked it to do. Now, one choice only on the gearbox on this car, a very common these days, 6-speed automatic with a gate, which I appreciate, and paddles. You've got every possible way of shifting this guy. You can go into this paddle mode, which is going to give you different response. You can influence it further from there. You can also hit it here on the stick. This is a nicely laid out transmission for anybody's personal preference. Over here's the Active Eco button. This puts the car into an extremely eco-friendly mode. Sipping gas, obviously. That does not include auto start-stop. That is not implemented on this car. Okay, in the engine bay, a nice collection of technologies, especially for a sub-30 grand car. Turbocharging and direct injection. Sound familiar? That's what Ford does in EcoBoost. Now, here Hyundai does it as well, again, in big volumes. These two companies are starting to get the ball rolling heavily on popularly priced GDI plus turbo vehicles. Specifically, 2-liter turbo, inline 4, sitting side saddle, driving the front wheels, all pretty conventional in that respect. The output is 274 horsepower, 269 foot-pounds of torque, nice even numbers there. Gets this 3,400-pound car up to 60 in about 6.5 seconds, a good respectable number, while delivering 2234 mpg. Now notice that 34 is a full 6 shy of today's magic number of 40. Typically cars this size don't reach 40 unless they're somewhat electrified, but they're kind of on the low side of the 30s. I'd like to see them tweak that up a little. Now, the Sonata's an odd bag of drive modes. First of all, if you're in standard drive with Active Eco on like this, pretty sedate stuff. None of this stuff adjusts the suspension, by the way. You've got a single mode, kind of a standard steel-based suspension. But the powertrain is, a leisurely in eco mode like you'd expect. When I turn it off, I gotta tell you, I don't feel a real big difference in sharpness. I mean, modest, but not a real big difference in personality. That's very different than when I put this thing over in the shiftable gate over here on the shifter. That's not just a sport mode, that's like a crazy redline mode. It holds every gear almost all the way up the clock. It's kind of weird in a car like this that has really no performance pretensions and has a kind of a soft suspension. It's not wallowy, but there's nothing firm or cutting edge or knife edge about it. So that's a weird sport mode to me. Now, of course, at that point, if you're shifting, that makes sense. And I'm getting on the paddles here, and the shifts are, nice and quick. Overall, as I think you've heard me say before, this is one of my go-to cars when someone comes to me and says, I need a new car, what should I buy? They didn't say sports car, they didn't say compact SUV or crossover, they didn't say anything else, they just need a new car. This is one of my favorites. I like the overall refinement, I like the value, I like the handling and performance within its means. I prefer the Kia Optima for looks. It's basically the same platform underneath, but this is one of the better decisions you can make when you just need a car. A Sonata SE Turbo bases at about $25,700, but the nav and sunroof package at almost $3,000. You want those to go CNET style. With delivery, that all gets you out the door a little under $29,000.